My name's Phil Besse. I've been working for Nordhavn for a little over a year, 13, 14 months, something like that. But I've been involved with the company for 15 years, I think. My dad bought his first Nordhavn in 2005 or 2006, shortly after he retired. Um, he had a 55 named Isabella. Uh, that was his first sort of foray into expedition cruising. We grew up first on sailboats on Cape Cod, and then when my younger brother and I decided that sailboats were too slow, we graduated to sea rays, which were awesome. Cruising around the Cape and Islands in the summer. But I was about to head to college, and my brother was, I think, junior in high school, something like that. And my dad had retired and decided that it was time to go do some serious cruising. So he bought his 55, and he and my mom and some of my dad's friends took the maiden voyage down to Florida in the fall. I think it was the fall of 2006. So he must have bought it in 2006. So anyway, they spent a few years cruising up and down the coast to the Caribbean, flying down for the winter, leaving the boat, coming back for holidays, that kind of thing. And I got my first cruising experience on the Nordhavns. I think my first trip was coming back from Jacksonville, Florida, back up to the Cape for the summer after my freshman year of college. So spring 2007, something like that. So the 59, we enjoyed that for a lot of years. And I think 2008, 2009, my dad decided it was time to go a little bigger. So we got a 64, the Mirador. And that was more of the same. Lots of cruising, lots of fun. They would spend the winters in the Caribbean. Eventually, he ended up hiring a captain. For the last few years, he had the boat, so he could, really truly relax. And finally, 2014, he decided it was time to move on. I would say slow down from Nordhavn life. Not that Nordhavn cruising is very fast, but they ended up buying a place up on a lake in Maine, and now he has a 25-foot pontoon boat. Lovingly called Darth Vader because it's all black. So the broker who sold my dad his two boats, Dave Balfour, still works for the company. In the winter of 2019, I guess it would have been, he emailed me and said that the company, the Rhode Island office was looking to expand, and did I want to join? I had been selling boats for another company in the area. Love Nordhavn, love the boats, love the company. So I jumped at the chance to come aboard and start selling them. So that's kind of my Nordhavn story. 55 or 64. What was my favorite Nordhavn? Obviously the 64. A lot more volume in the boat, a lot more room for everybody to kind of spread out if you need it. But it was still small enough that, my parents for a few years handled it by themselves. I was able to, bring it in and dock the boat and take it out of the harbor. The 64 actually allowed me to get my 100-ton captain's license for all the cruising experience I had on the boat. Also, I was in college when we had the 64, and after college a little bit. So, I got to have some friends come down and, visit in the Bahamas, Virgin Islands, St. Lucia. So we always had a lot of fun on the 64. It's a little fresher in my memory, I think. So on the Nordhavn 41. Big exciting news. We got pictures yesterday and late last night that the boat was getting ready to launch in Turkey. We got pictures of it on the truck going from the factory to the marina. and I believe it should have been launched by now. I don't think I've seen any pictures of it in the water yet, but I know it was on its way. Definitely very excited to see this boat eventually up close and in person. Sort of unique in that we're selling it as a complete boat, no options really on it. So it comes fully equipped, ready to go. You can go take delivery of the boat and just sail off and have some adventures. So another sort of exciting thing about the 41, because it's built in Turkey, is that we offer customers to take delivery of the boat in Turkey and then cruise the Med, sort of as the shakedown cruise, the Dalmatian coast, do the Aegean Sea, Italy, Greek islands, south of France, and then when they're done, they can either take it transatlantic themselves, or we can include it in the price as the shipping costs, and so we can arrange shipping for it back to States as well. How much prior experience do you have to have before driving a Nordhavn? Do you offer training? Well, my dad had none. It was the biggest boat that he had owned, the 55, in terms of length and displacement. He had no experience driving anything quite that big. Dave Balfour spent a lot of time on the boat with him, making sure he was comfortable with all of these systems and docking and leaving the dock. So you really don't need much, if any, experience driving anything that big, and we are definitely able to make sure that you are comfortable handling the boat and handling all the systems on your own, before we kind of set you free. I didn't have any experience, obviously, either. I don't really ever remember handling the 55 all that much, so I think the 64 was the first one that I really handled, especially coming into the dock in Falmouth Harbor. But they're just so easily maneuverable, even though they're single screw. With the bow thruster and the stern thruster, they can really turn on a dime, and it's definitely pretty easy to do. The typical timeline and process for finding, surveying, and purchasing a brokerage in Nordhavn. Really, I mean, it can be as quick as you want it. If you find one you like and you get it surveyed, the offer is accepted, then it really won't take very long at all. They usually will go pretty quickly, so you don't want to drag your feet on it. But it's basically you'd reach out to one of the brokers, or we'd reach out to the selling broker for you and let them know that we have a client who's interested, and and then we would we'd go from there. We get the boat surveyed. Hopefully the offer would be accepted, and then once all the paperwork and the money and everything's complete, then you'd be good to go. Best way to compare Nordhavn against other brands? Really, there's no comparison. They're sort of the best at what they are designed to do. There's a lot of brands that try to come close, but I could say I'm biased because I work for the company, but even before I worked for the company, I realized that they're the best for long range expedition, cruising, very safe, circumnavigation. I mean, the fact that the 40, I believe, still has the record for the fastest circumnavigation for production powerboat and that's 20 years old, I think, maybe more, that record. That should say it all. If you can circumnavigate in a 40-footer, then I think the boats are pretty good. They'll be very safe, very sturdy, very comfortable, but also you're not sacrificing anything on the sort of amenities side, the luxury, feel, and the systems and all that. Can you talk about how Nordhavns retain their value? They retain their value very, very well. There was a 52 that the owner took delivery of last fall, and then he ended up having to sell it for health reasons this year. The boat, I believe it's under contract now. I think they're waiting to finish it up, but it really sold at ask, and it was an excellent deal. You really won't lose much value on them. They're sort of high in demand when used Nordhavns do come up on the market. I think when my dad sold his 64, I think for the amount of time he had it, 5 or 6 years, I think he almost came out even on the deal. Took a little bit of a loss on the boat, but really, he got 5 or 6 years of solid cruising, and he basically got back what he paid for it, minus a little bit. Do you sell Nordhavns at your office? How do you market? So we can list anything and sell it on the brokerage side. New boats, we're only obviously doing Nordhavns, but if there's a trade, or if somebody just wants to sell their boat with us, we'll certainly take it. It'll be on all the digital marketing sites, Yacht World, all that kind of stuff. We'll have little flyers up in the office. We can push it digitally through our CRM software. So yeah, really anything that a customer wants to sell, we can certainly list it and get it marketed and get it sold for them. How long do your boats stay on the brokerage market? Really, it depends. There are certainly some models that are sort of more in demand than others for whatever reason. So sort of the classic in demand ones will go quicker. Really, I don't think they'll stay. They will stay on the market all that long, especially sort of, I guess. Well, I don't know. So newer ones can be more in demand for a certain type of buyer. Also, someone who wants to get a little more maybe value would be looking for sort of an older model. But yeah, they usually move pretty quickly. Why do certain boats stay on the market longer than others? So again, it could be the age of the boat, could be the model. Some that we didn't really sell a lot of or ever produce could stay on the market a little bit longer just because there was never really that much interest in them in the first place, I guess. If I am a buyer in the market for a much older Nordhavn, what do I need to look for? What do I need to make concessions with? So on an older Nordhavn, I mean, the most obvious thing will be a little more wear and tear, probably. The systems in the boat may be a little bit older, and especially if they haven't been upgraded, things like electronics. So if you wanted the quote unquote state of the art systems on those, then that would be sort of an additional cash outlay. Things like hours on the engines could be higher, but really, the engines on these boats are really just hitting their stride when they're getting to a couple thousand hours, just getting broken in. I mean, they're made to run 24 hours a day for weeks at a time. So higher engine hours on a boat on a Nordhavn are not really something to be that worried about, as opposed to an outboard. But yeah, there may be some little cosmetic issues, some scratches, some dings, that kind of thing. It'll probably feel a little more lived in, but you'll get great value for the boat, and it'll just be hitting its stride. What did you find were the best attributes about your Nordhavns? Geez, there's so many. I mean, first, the capability of the boats. Yeah, the my first trip up on the 55, my first trip ever on a Nordhavn, going from Florida to Massachusetts. Off of New Jersey, we were in 15-foot seas, and I had never been in anything like that. It was a little scary at first. I had no experience like that. We learned quickly what needed to have been secured and what that wasn't. Some things sort of flying around, rolling around, but you quickly realize what those things are, and you put them away. But the boat handled great. It was a very sturdy, comfortable ride. You just kind of learn to go with the flow of the boat. The boat wants to stay afloat, so there was really nothing to worry about with it. It's more of a mental thing than anything. You just have to accept the fact that you're going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, maybe, but that the boat is going to do its best to take care of you. And we got through it fine. And after getting through that, then I wasn't really ever nervous to get into any heavy seas in the Nordhavn again. Second, I would say they're very comfortable boats. Anything that you're going to be cruising for weeks or months or even years in some cases at a time, if it's going to be your home. So you're going to want it to be comfortable. It's going to have all the amenities you'd expect to find at home. You're going to want to have room to spread out. You're going to want to have a comfortable bed. Hot showers, obviously, but it's got. So you're gonna have a lot of water on board. You're gonna have a lot of food on board. There's plenty of room to store those. There's a lot of redundancy on the boats. You want to have one or two backup systems for everything. You'll be able to make your own water. You'll have multiple freezers for frozen food. You'll have plenty of storage for dry goods and non-perishables. So it's a home away from home while you're cruising. It's got to be capable and it's got to be comfortable. And it certainly is those two things. They're easy to maneuver, easy to handle. The systems are all pretty easy to get to and work on, which is something very important for an owner operator. If you're out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, on your way to Hawaii or whatever, and something goes wrong, you have to be able to fix it because help is not too close. So you have to be able to work on the engine. You have to be able to do an oil change. You have to be able to get to any of the systems that you need to get to. Everything's very accessible in the Nordhavns, very easy to work on. And that's sort of a point of pride for a lot of Nordhavn owners, is that they do all the work themselves. I also think another attribute about Nordhavns that are just really cool are just the lines and the look. They're instantly recognizable. I was in the Bahamas in March before all the COVID craziness started, and we had rented a little boat for the day, and we're sitting on this little island. And off in the channel coming into Harbor Island, I see a boat. And I said, that looks like a Nordhavn. And my dad said, I don't know. It doesn't really look like one. I said, oh, I think it is. And it ended up being one of the 59s. It was 5903, which has a little bit different, lines or styling than other Nordhavns, but it was still instantly recognizable. They're just sort of a classic look. I myself am partial to the forward pilot house design as opposed to the aft. I just think aesthetically, for me, it looks a little better. probably because the 55 and the 64 that my family had were both forward pilot house. I know there's a lot of diehard adherence to the aft pilot house design, and that's cool too. But either way, if you see one a few miles out, you'll instantly know that's a Nordhavn. That's a quality boat. Nordhavns are great boats, but can their greatness overcome not being properly cared for? I mean, up to a point, but like with any boat, you got to stay on the maintenance. You got to keep up with things, especially for these boats. Like I was saying, if you're cruising weeks or months at a time and something goes wrong, if you haven't been keeping up with all the systems and all the maintenance, then I think you can find a cascade of problems that may be difficult to contain. Whereas if you were just, if you kept up with all the maintenance checks, all the schedules, all the work on it, it's usually you'll have one little problem and you fix that and you're good to go. So the 51 is it's a new model we're offering. I still don't even really know how much we've sort of released information wise about the boat. But like the 41, it's built in Turkey, and it also is sold as a complete product. The boat will be ordered, delivered, and ready to go. No, options lists on it. Very excited about that one too. I think we've already sold the first 2 or 3 hulls on that, and it's yeah. So Jenny just said we've taken 3 LOIs on the boat, and it's sort of a nice way to offer Nordhavns and to I assume to buy Nordhavns. When we get an inquiry on one, it's usually they'll ask for the price of the boat, and so when you get talking about that, you give them the base price, which is really in most cases boat and engine, and then they start getting into options, and it can quickly drive up the cost of the boat. But with the 41 and the 51, the price is the price. It's really where do you want it shipped, and that'll add or subtract a little bit of money whether you want it shipped to the West Coast or the East Coast. So it's sort of the price is the price. You get the boat, and it's good to go. Okay, yeah. So last year, right as I was joining the Rhode Island office, we actually moved from Portsmouth, Rhode Island to East Greenwich, Rhode Island. It's a nice little spot. It's in a pretty little bay. There's a marina there with room for Nordhavns. It's deep enough, and they have big enough slips. I think there's 2 or 3 now. There's a 60 and a 68, I believe. The 68 may have taken off already, but as of last week, they were there. They're capable to work on the boats at the marinas there. It's a short Uber or car ride to TF Green, so you can fly in and out, and within 20 minutes be at our office. It's a nice little spot. The office is I don't know how many of you ever went to the Portsmouth office, but the one in East Greenwich is quite a bit bigger. All the brokers have their own individual offices. Jenny has her office. We have a conference room. We have a little kitchenette. So it's definitely been an improvement. Everybody isn't sort of sitting on top of each other and talking over each other on the phones. But it was, I like the office a lot. It's nice. So we have some new listings at the Rhode Island office. We have a 2000 Nordhavn 40 that Dave Balfour just took. So that is available to be seen. We'll probably go quickly. So with the COVID, it's really kind of that's all right. COVID really kind of threw everybody for a loop. Obviously, it's the new normal. People wearing masks. Restaurants are finally opening up around here. Rhode Island's a little ahead of Massachusetts, but one of the loops that it's thrown at us from the yacht sales side is what happens with boat shows. Sort of our Super Bowl at the Rhode Island office is the Newport Boat Show every September, obviously. I think there's no decisions been made yet. They're sort of waiting for guidance from the government to see how to proceed on that. They're supposed to be making a decision by June 24th whether or not to proceed. So we're sort of waiting around, hurry up and wait kind of thing, to see what's going to happen. We certainly hope that the boat show will go on. It'll be interesting to see if they do it with sort of a reduced capacity, sell fewer tickets, less people allowed inside. I mean, I hope it all goes smoothly, because if they try to start throwing too many rules at it, it's just going to be a nightmare. But we are hoping to have the new 41 at the boat show if the boat show goes on. Dave Balfour sold hull number 1, so the boat that has been posted to Instagram. Our Instagram account is Nordhavn_Northeast. So you can follow us on Instagram there. I just posted some pictures of hull number 1 this morning. So that's the boat that Dave sold. So that boat should be around here. It will be at our office to be seen. Hopefully we'll have it at the boat show. We will still show some boats during COVID, obviously with as much protection as the customer would like to see. With a newborn at home, I have a 3.5-week-old. We're sort of being extra careful. If I were showing a customer a boat, I would probably wear a mask. So we will show boats. We're trying not to let COVID stop us. The world's still turning, so we got to keep selling, right? Oh, good question. To describe how Nordhavns are also good for people who are not planning on cruising the world and crossing oceans. So there's a few ways to go with that. Despite my pushing and prodding, my dad never did a transatlantic trip, which I really wanted to do. I mean, they were really just up and down the East Coast, cruise the Caribbean in the winter, and come back up to the Cape for the summer, which was excellent. I would have liked to do transatlantic, maybe go up to cruise the Arctic in the summer. I would like to circumnavigate eventually, but and we do offer boats that are perfect for just a little, a little less intense expedition cruising. The 59 Coastal Pilot is a semi-planing hull, twin screw, that can get you where you want to go pretty quickly, 18, 20 knots. So, I mean, if you're speaking from, the area I know, if you were in Falmouth and wanted to cruise to Nantucket for lunch, it wouldn't take you very long to get there, hour and a half, maybe. You could cruise to Montauk pretty quickly. So, they're certainly designed for circumnavigation and crossing oceans and all that, but you can go as far or stay as close to a home port as you want to. It's most of the boats, it'll be a slow cruise, but there's nothing wrong with that. Enjoy the ocean. All right. So I think my time is about at an end here. I'm going to go spell my wife from baby duty for a bit. Big thank you to her for taking over so that I could do this webinar for everybody. As I mentioned a little bit ago, Dave Balfour and Ben Sprague will be doing the next two sessions here. They are both at the Rhode Island office with me. So that'll be the next 2 hours here, 11 and noon. And then after that, we have two other webinars for you this afternoon. One is searching for the perfect Nordhavn. And then we have a webinar all about stabilizers, which if you've ever been on a Nordhavn, you'll know that we have stabilizers on board. They are definitely very useful. On the 55 that my family had, we actually lost a stabilizer once, and the boats still handle great, but you definitely appreciate having them when one goes out. You can go to nordhavn.com to register for the webinars. I believe you have to register in order to view them. Yeah, so that's going to be about it for me. I hope everybody learned something. Thank you for all the questions. I had a good time, and I hope to see some of you in person this summer or at the Newport Boat Show in the fall. Thank you very much.